I felt I was putting on weight, evident from sort of photographs, evident from trying on clothes, going to get a new suit and that kind of stuff. It just didn't make me feel great. And that was kind of my big motivation for reaching out to you. And outside of perhaps meeting my wife and asking her to marry me, one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I genuinely mean that. My name's Andrew. I'm 42 years old. I live with my wife, 10-year-old son, and a French bulldog. I've worked in kind of the IT industry most of my life, which is kind of office based, certainly sitting down, working, quite a bit of travel involved. I felt that I was reasonably fit, even if I was carrying quite a bit of perhaps excess fat. The reason I reached out to you, James, was I was kind of at a bit of a crossroads. I had my first major operation on my knee, and I felt that I was not in a particularly good place. So I felt I was putting on weight, evident from sort of photographs, evident from trying on clothes, going to get a new suit and that kind of stuff. It just didn't make me feel great. And that was kind of my big motivation for reaching out to you. And outside of perhaps meeting my wife and asking her to marry me, one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I genuinely mean that. So it was really good for me. In my mind, I thought I was being healthy. When your clothes not fitting, looking at yourself in photos, realizing you're not looking good, and I felt that I need to do something. Needed help because I didn't have the basic skills um, to not stop gaining weight. That's what it felt like. I guess self-esteem was low. My son, I guess, was he was only about 9 at the time. He was beginning to start to show an interest in sport, and I wanted to be able to do things with him. I didn't want to be that parent who would be out of breath, sweaty, that kind of stuff, not able to join in. So I wanted to be fit for my son. I wanted to know my wife still to be attracted to me as best as possible after all these years. And yeah, just a sort of self-confidence that I felt that I was sort of going backwards on. I didn't want to be in photos. I don't know. I didn't want. I hated it when if I ever saw myself on camera or anything like that. And it was just things. These are things I wanted to avoid. And to me, it was always there was always an excuse. And you seem to understand a man in my position, work, family, child, what responsibilities, and about how to manage the important things. My biggest obstacle before joining was I can do this myself. I can, I know, if I eat spinach and chicken for the rest of all 3 meals every day, I'll lose weight. If I go to the gym 5 times a week, I'll lose weight. But you can do that for a week, you can do it for 2 weeks, but then you get into earth it. And that was always kind of the biggest obstacle I had to come over was making myself accountable. Very quickly, it felt like clothes that maybe were a little bit on the tight side just began to feel a little bit better. And that was a real boost to my self-esteem. And it felt, I don't want to sound like a football manager here, but trusting the process. It was, right, this is how we're going to get to where you want to get to. And it was the fact constantly weighing myself, I say constantly, once a day in the morning, first thing. And it was always, I say always, over the week, it was always a downward trend, which is what you want. And that was when I realized it was working. I wasn't doing anything that was disruptive to my family. I was still present. I wasn't, I know, in the gym when I should be at home. I wasn't starving myself when it was mealtime and stuff like that. It was very much able to adapt it around my lifestyle.
And you talk us through the results that you got on the program.
So the headline results are I've lost over 20 kilograms. I'm the lightest I've been for since I use the word records began. In terms of I think this, so I went from 110 over 110 kilograms down to I think I'm about 88 today. So that to me was really important, and that's been a headline thing. From a clothes perspective, I was beginning to look at double XL clothes. I'm now looking at L. 38-inch waist down to a 34-inch waist on trousers. Yeah, things like that. These are the big changes for me, and it's been gradual. It's not been an overnight thing. It's just been my charts are just all moving in the right direction.
What do those results mean to you now? What have they given you?
Certainly desire not to go back. I know I feel happier now about myself than I did, 12 months ago. But I'm also seeing lots of other benefits in my health, sleep being one of them, sleeping better, generally more energy, less sitting around doing nothing. It's these kind of habits that have really sort of improved my sort of day-to-day sort of feeling and well-being. So with my son, it's been wanting to sort of set an example. It's again, I want him to be proud of, not embarrassed by obviously everyone's embarrassed by their parents, but less embarrassed, I'm guessing. And yeah, I tried to sort of set an example for him, get him involved. I joined probably 2 weeks after my summer holidays, and I remember thinking, oh, I've got a business trip coming up in September. Do I start after that? And that was one of the things I wanted to discuss with you when we first had our conversation. And I think you sort of pointed out there's never a right time to do these things, because after that business trip to the US in September, it would have been, oh, Christmas isn't that far away. Let's wait till January. And then I've had all sorts of quite a lot of things going on in my life. We moved home. We mentioned it earlier. I had a couple of setbacks with my knee. These are all sort of excuses I think would have been perfectly reasonable just to say, let's do it next year, let's start it then. And just trying to make this fit around my hectic lifestyle, because next 12 months, who knows what's going to happen. What I know is it's not going to be smooth. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be barriers. There's going to be work pressures. There's going to be all sorts of things that will get in the way. But yeah, I think this is the key thing. Just give you that core skill set that you think, right, even when I don't know, I'm unable to walk, so I've twisted my knee and tore my ligaments again, don't delve into the crisp cupboard or stuff like that. So that is just those sorts of things would have perhaps been there before I started this program. And it's about giving you that toolbox that allows you to deal with situations that constantly arise, and everything's manageable. Everything's really small. It's lots of things rather than, right, you need to do this and you need all these other conditions to be around you. And it's about something that gives you the sort of flexibility and the empowerment to make these quite. Sometimes I explain to people what I do, and they think it's so simple. How does it do that? And it's all these little building blocks which have contributed rather than one specific thing. It isn't, right, I'm in the gym at 5 o'clock every morning with some personal trainer screaming at me, and I don't eat till 9 o'clock at night. And at that point, I'm whatever famished. Everything is feasible. I'm living. I always thought I would know had a slow metabolism. I thought I was always destined to be overweight. I still am to an extent, but it's a case of I can lose weight, I just needed the guidance. I'm not going to be able to self teach myself or self discipline. And if you're one of these people who sometimes needs to be reporting in and being accountable to somebody else yourself, I think the benefits are massive. And I would strongly urge people to consider this if they're feeling how I was at this stage a year ago. The one downside is the amount of money I've had to spend on new clothes, and you don't get any money back on your old clothes. I remember probably the best moment was when I bought a new suit. It was, I don't know how, it's probably the last time I bought a suit. It was probably the most depressing experience of my life, where I thought I was about a 44 and turned out to be a 48-inch suit. I ended up buying a really cheap, nasty suit because I couldn't be asked to spend that kind of money on something that I looked awful in. It probably didn't help, but that was the thing. But then, yeah, buying a decent suit in a size 42 and feeling good about that, as opposed to thinking this is awful. It's the same place that I had that awful experience with, and that was a real moment, and that was important to me. Expensive on clothes, but worth it.